Have you ever noticed how the phrase, disrespecting tradition, is often used in politics? Sometimes it's about protecting cherished values, but other times it's a weapon. A phrase designed not to honor history, but to silence change. This week, that phrase exploded into the headlines when Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas publicly accused Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett of disrespecting tradition. What followed was not a timid retreat, but a powerful, unapologetic rebuttal that left even seasoned political watchers stunned. Today, we're going to unpack exactly what happened, the political forces at play, the deeper meaning behind this clash, and why Crockett's response is resonating so strongly across America. To understand why this moment struck such a chord, we need to go beyond the soundbite. Justice Clarence Thomas, one of the most conservative voices on the Supreme Court, has long presented himself as a guardian of American constitutional tradition. He frames many of his legal opinions in the language of history, appealing to the founders' original meaning and long-standing customs. On the other side, Representative Jasmine Crockett, a first-term Democrat from Texas, has built a growing reputation as an articulate, fearless advocate for justice, reform, voting rights, and government accountability. She's a lawyer herself, which means she meets legal arguments head-on, not as a politician guessing her way through constitutional law, but as someone trained to spar over its meaning. The two don't often share a stage, but recently, their paths crossed during a high-profile discussion on judicial ethics and legislative oversight. That's where Thomas accused Crockett of disrespecting tradition, a phrase loaded with centuries of political meaning. Thomas's exact words were pointed. Congresswoman Crockett's approach to these issues disrespects the traditions that have long guided our nation's highest court. Our system relies on respect for its customs, and when those are discarded, the entire structure risks collapse. At first glance, this may sound like a benign statement about civility, but for those steeped in political history, the subtext is far deeper. Tradition has often been invoked to defend the status quo, sometimes for noble causes, but just as often to resist necessary change. By framing Crockett's position as an affront to tradition, Thomas was signaling to his base that she represented a threat not just to his judicial philosophy, but to the legitimacy of the institution itself. And then came Jasmine Crockett's reply, measured, calm, and devastating in its precision. She began by acknowledging the value of tradition, greater than Justice Thomas. I believe traditions can be important, but not when they shield misconduct or prevent progress. Our founders themselves broke with tradition. When they built this country, they understood that justice is not a museum piece, frozen in time. It is a living principle. Crockett then pivoted to the heart of her argument that true respect for an institution requires holding it accountable when it strays from its mission. We can honor the institution of the court without excusing actions that undermine public trust. Respecting tradition doesn't mean ignoring facts. And if speaking the truth about the need for reform is disrespect, then perhaps it's time we redefine what tradition really means in a democracy. Her words landed like a gavel strike, firm, final, and impossible to ignore. From a political expert's perspective, this exchange is about far more than two public figures disagreeing. It's a textbook example of frame battles, moments when competing sides fight to define the meaning of a single word or idea. Thomas framed tradition as a set of inherited customs that must be preserved at all costs. Crockett reframed it as something conditional, worthy of respect only if it serves justice and democracy. This is where political psychology comes in. Voters often make decisions based not on policy details, but on which frame feels morally right. By connecting her argument to the revolutionary spirit of America's founding, Crockett tapped into a deep patriotic frame, one that says change is part of the American tradition, and she did it without raising her voice, without resorting to insults, and without letting Thomas dictate the terms of the debate. History is full of moments when leaders clashed over tradition versus progress. In the 1960s, civil rights leaders were told they were disrespecting tradition when they challenged segregation. Women, suffrage activists were accused of undermining the social order when they demanded the vote. Even the founding fathers were branded traitors to the British Crown for breaking with centralized governance. Crockett's point, and the reason her response resonated so strongly, is that tradition alone is not a moral compass. Without accountability, tradition can be a shield for injustice. This debate isn't just about the Supreme Court, it's about the health of our democracy. Trust in American institutions, Congress, the presidency, the courts, has fallen to historic lows. Many Americans feel the system is rigged, that those in power are insulated from the rules the rest of us must follow. When figures like Crockett challenge that culture under the glare of national attention, it sends a powerful message. Accountability is not the enemy of tradition, it is its lifeblood, for political people across the spectrum. This moment is a reminder that defending democracy sometimes means speaking uncomfortable truths, even to those who have held power for decades. At the end of the day, what happened between Clarence Thomas and Jasmine Crockett is more than a sharp political exchange. It's a reflection of the choice every generation faces: cling to tradition for its own sake, or reshape it to better serve justice. Crockett's words remind us that the Constitution is not a relic. It is a living document, written to adapt, to improve, and to ensure liberty for all. True respect for our institutions means ensuring they are worthy of the public's trust. If you care about the future of American democracy, don't just watch from the sidelines. Engage, read, vote, speak up when you see injustice, even if the person you're challenging sits on the highest court in the land. Because, in the end, tradition is not preserved by silence. It's preserved by courage. If you found this breakdown insightful, hit the like button, subscribe for more deep political analysis, and tap the notification bell so you never miss when we cover moments that shape our democracy. Now, I want to hear from you. Was Crockett right to push back this way? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one.